In Colombia, in the past, reported that the armed strike caused 127 violent actions in several departments of the country. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador called for Latin American integration and highlighted the positive results of his recent tour through Central America and the Caribbean. Iran's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Saeed Khatibzadeh said that European Union's coordinator for talks between Iran and world powers over restoring a 2015 nuclear deal, Enrique Mora, will visit Tehran this week. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm your anchor Gladys Quesada from the teleSUR studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. And now we begin. The Institute of Studies for Development and Peace in the past reported that the armed strike decreed by the paramilitary group Autodefensas Gaitanistas de Colombia caused 127 violent actions in several departments of the country. According to In the Past, the armed strike took place in 10 departments and at least 73 municipalities were affected. The department with the most violent actions is Antioquia with 62 cases, as well as the department of Bolívar with 22, followed by Sucre, Magdalena, Santander, and Córdoba. In this context, social organizations denounced the absence of security forces in the most affected municipalities and demanded concrete actions from the executive to stop the incidents. In Colombia, armed forces continues. A new massacre was reported in the department of Chocó. It is the 38th so far this year. According to the Institute for Studies for Development and Peace, in the past, the bodies of 4 people who were kidnapped by an armed group at the beginning of May were found near the municipality of Movita. The victims were identified as Ernest Alexander Bedoya Perez, Jairo Alonso Acevedo Zapata, Yelisa Martinez Mosquera, and Alexander Barrios Lopez, who work as merchants. According to In the Past, so far in 2022, 2 massacres were registered in the department of Chocó. On Monday, Cuban Prime Minister Manuel Marrero makes official visit to Venezuela to strengthen bilateral ties. Marrero, through his Twitter account, announced the official visit to the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, his 5th visit to this country and first in his role as Prime Minister, as he said. During his stay in the nation, he will review issues of interest to both peoples, reiterating the firm will of his government to continue providing their modest cooperation to this brother country. At the same time, Cuba and Venezuela maintain close relations marked by collaboration programs, particularly in health and education, including political dialogue at the highest level.
We come to strengthen the ties of friendship between both countries. That friendship strengthened by Commander Hugo Chávez Frías and Commander Fidel Castro Ruz, that led us to this day. We are also here to support the constitutional President Nicolás Maduro and the civic military union of the Venezuelan people, that people that just a people with its own criteria. We will be working, cooperating, strengthening these ties of friendship, looking for ways to promote mutual interest for both countries.
In Peru, opposition sectors have submitted a new interpolation motion against Prime Minister Aníbal Torres. Popular Renovation Party Congressperson Alejandro Munante made the official announcement about a second motion of interpolation against the head of the ministerial cabinet, Aníbal Torres. According to Munante, this second motion intends to investigate the project to hold general elections at an earlier date, a proposal that was never made official despite having been signed by 20 assembly members. Munante also announced that they plan to investigate Torres for his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, specifically the renewal of the state of exception for the disease, maintaining restrictive measures in the nation. Torres is expected to appear before Congress this Thursday to answer to the accusations made against him. On Monday, Ecuadorian prison authorities confirmed the occurrence of a riot in the Social Rehabilitation Center of Santo Domingo de los Áchilas. The Ecuadorian General Attorney's Office published through its Twitter account that so far there are 43 deaths and many injured. The Ministry of Interior, Patricio Carrillo, said that the national government is working to overcome the problems of the system, while assuring that it is complex to find quick solutions in an environment of high contamination and violence. The Ecuadorian prison system has registered an increase in violent acts that have called into question its effectiveness and credibility. However, the government assures that it is implementing a strategy to deal with this phenomena. In this context, authorities reported that some 220 prisoners managed to escape, and later police officers captured 112 of them. Ecuadorian teachers organized in the National Union of Educators held a protest to demand a salary increase and the return to some teachers who have been dismissed from their jobs. This Monday's protests are taking place in the cities of Quito, Santo Domingo, and Guayaquil, as well as in the province of Manabí, where roadblockings have been registered to obstruct the passing. The educators initiated these protest actions in rejection of the veto made by the President of Ecuador, Guillermo Lasso, to the reforms to the organic law of intercultural education, which gave way to the salary compensation to more than 100,000 teachers in the country. With the day of demonstrations, the unsatisfied also support other teachers who have been in hunger strike since Tuesday, May the 3rd in Quito and Guayaquil. In Cuba, authorities continue the rescue work at the Saratoga Hotel. So far, 40 people died in the accident. The head of the Cuban Fire Department, Luis Guzman, told national television that they are working non-stop to find as quickly as possible the people trapped in the rubble. He also explained that the search and rescue efforts is carried out with extreme care due to the amount of debris and the building's danger of collapse. Last Friday, the Saratoga Hotel experienced a strong explosion when a tanker truck with liquefied gas was serving its facilities, heavily damaging the first and second floors of the hotel and adjacent buildings. 94 people were injured. The province's hospitals provided immediate attention to the injured, while several health institutions received thousands of people who came to donate blood. We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. And we are back. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador called for Latin American integration and said his recent tour through several Central American and Caribbean countries was positive. In his traditional morning press briefing, the Mexican president underscored progress made in deepening ties with several countries in the region. The president insisted that he will be championing the idea that all Latin American countries should be attending the 9th Summit of the Americas, to be held in June in the U.S. city of Los Angeles. López Obrador made it clear that aside from maintaining good relations with North America and the Caribbean, his administration also concerns itself with the issues of South American countries.
We are proposing that at the next summit, to be held in Los Angeles, everyone should be invited, that no one should be excluded, that we can talk, accept our differences, but also reach agreements on everything that unites us and that can help us, that can benefit us, strengthen us as a region in the world. That is our position.
And the Mexican president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, said that an agreement between Russia and Ukraine is important to help resolve the economic crisis.
The most important thing would be to reach an agreement, a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine. That would help us a lot, because that's what precipitated the economic crisis. So the United Nations has to keep insisting in the dialogue, in the agreement. Also, it is not just the market. The saddest thing is the loss of lives due to the war.
And the president of Argentina, Alberto Fernandez, begins a tour of several European countries on Monday, where he is seeking a higher level of investment in the country. The tour of the Argentine president takes place at a time when Europe is still going through the consequences of the war in Ukraine and Russia. He will also meet with the presidents of Spain and Germany to seek a higher level of investments in the country, as well as to boost Argentine exports in those markets. Fernandez also seeks to show himself as a food and energy supplier for the old continent. According to presidential sources, the tour could include France for a bilateral meeting with the recently re-elected president Emmanuel Macron. And on the occasion of the Victory Day against fascism, the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, stated that his country gave a preventive response to the Ukrainian aggression by means of the special operation. According to the head of state, the decision was the stance of a strong and independent sovereign country, and it was the best approach to the Kiev government's aggression. Putin detailed that he observed the deployment of military infrastructures and the supply of armaments by NATO. However, during his speech, President Putin said Moscow promised to do everything possible to avoid a global war. Therefore, he called on the West to maintain a dialogue and look for solutions. However, the head of state alleged that NATO countries did not want to listen.
Despite international disagreements, Russia has always advocated the creation of a system of equal and indivisible security, which is vital to the entire international community. The NATO countries did not want to hear us, which means that in fact they had completely different plans. An absolutely unacceptable threat to our security was systematically created, moreover directly at our borders.
And Mariupol residents celebrate this May 9th, the anniversary of the surrender of Nazi Germany to the Soviet Army in 1945. Our special envoy Alejandro Kirk with the details.
The 9th of May is probably the most important date in Soviet and Russian history. It marks the day when Nazi Germany surrendered to Soviet troops in Berlin in 1945. This date is celebrated by all families because 27 million Soviet citizens gave their lives in the struggle to liberate the world and Europe of fascism, of Nazi Germany. But here in Mariupol it's a special day because it's the first time probably that music is heard again in the city. The spring is in full swing and there is an air of rebirth of this city that will be reconstructed as the main port of the People's Republic of Donetsk. And about that we spoke with the leader of the Republic, Denis Pushilin, and let's hear what he said.
For Mariupol, it is especially significant because for 8 years the city of Mariupol was practically under the occupation of the Ukrainian neo-Nazi regime. Why do I say neo-Nazi, and I am not exaggerating at all? Because we are about to see with our own eyes how they made fun of people in Mariupol, how they use women, children, the elderly as human shields. We are collecting all the evidence, and the Prosecutor General's Office of the Donetsk People's Republic and the Investigation Committee of the Russian Federation are working on these crimes against civilians. And a normal people's hair stands on end because of those crimes, those abuses, the rapes that Azov and other neo-Nazi battalions which were based directly in Mariupol perpetrated. And all this was happening to the civilian population. That's why today the people so warmly welcomed us in this still devastated city. That is, people who still need additional food. They're not still 100% fully provided. There's not enough water yet. No electricity, but nevertheless people came and celebrated and thanked our soldiers for liberating the city. That's why I'm here today as head of the Republic, and that's why the deputies of the Russian State Duma who are from this city are here.
And that's it. Greetings from the monument to the heroes of the Great Patriotic War in Mariupol.
And member states in the European Union held discussions on the 6th round of sanctions on Russian oil, with a focus on how to ensure most EU countries to stop importing oil from Russia by the end of this year. However, according to several media outlets, permanent representatives of the EU member states failed to reach an agreement, revealing the lack of consensus within the community bloc on the total ban of Russian oil. The talks were put on hold for another day. Bulgarian Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Azen Vasiliev said if some EU member states are granted exemption from the embargo on Russian oil, his country wants to be included. Otherwise, the Balkan country will not support the new package of sanctions against Russia. Some Hungarian officials expressed their opposition to the planned sanctions 1 week ago, which they believe will undermine Hungary's energy security. Chinese President Xi Jinping met with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz via video call. During the meeting, the two sides also discussed the Ukrainian conflict. Xi said that China is promoting peace and diffuse tensions between Ukraine and Russia. He also stated that this is particularly important for the two countries to make better use of stabilizing, constructive, and guiding role of their relationship. For his part, Scholz underlined the good relations between Beijing and Berlin. He welcomed China's commitment to expanding high-standard opening up, which will bring more opportunities to Germany. Berlin is prepared to enhance communications and coordination with China on the multilateral front and promote the sound development of Europe-China relations, according to Scholz. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Iran's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Saeed Khatibzadeh said on Monday that the European Union's coordinator for talks between Iran and world powers over restoring a 2015 nuclear deal, Enrique Mora, will visit Tehran this week. The 2015 deal gave Iran sanctions relief in exchange for curbs on its nuclear program to guarantee it could not develop a nuclear weapon. The deal had been agreed between Iran and the 5 permanent UN Security Council members in Germany. The United States unilaterally withdrew from the agreement in 2018 under then-President Donald Trump and reimposed Biden economic sanctions on Iran. Mora is expected to arrive in Iran's capital on Tuesday. In the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos Jr. won the presidential elections. The son of the late former Philippine dictator Ferdinand Marcos won an overwhelming victory in the presidential election. With more than 90% of the ballots counted, Ferdinand Marcos Jr. had garnered nearly 30 million votes, more than double that of Liberal candidate Leni Robredo. About 67 million Philippines were eligible to vote. Sri Lankan Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa resigned on Monday after dozens of people were hospitalized when his supporters armed with sticks and clubs attacked protesters. The country has suffered months of blackouts and dire shortages of food, fuel, and medicines in its worst economic crisis since independence, sparking weeks of overwhelmingly peaceful anti-government demonstrations. Scores of Rajapaksa loyalists attacked unarmed protesters camping outside the president's office at the seafront Gulf-wise promenade in downtown Colombo since April 9th. Police fired tear gas and water cannon and declared an immediate curfew in Colombo, which was later widened to include this entire South Asian island nation of 22 million people. The resignation of the Prime Minister automatically means the cabinet stands dissolved. And now we move on to other topics. Drought impacts in Africa and on its population as COP15 opens in Ivory Coast economic capital Abidjan. The 15th session of the Conference of the Parties of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification takes place from May 9th to 20th. The COP15 theme, Land, Life, Legacy, From Scarcity to Prosperity, is a call to action to ensure land, the lifeline on this planet, continues to benefit present and future generations. It will be attended by several heads of state. It aims to take concrete action against rapid land degradation and its harmful consequences for biodiversity and populations at a time when the UN estimates that 40% of the world's land is degraded. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For Telesur English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.